All right, welcome back to the DeVory Darkins show. It is Tuesday, May 26th. We took a day off yesterday, obviously, for the Memorial holiday, which you'd be shocked to learn that so many people do not even understand the meaning of that holiday, and so I will get to that here. I'd like to rant over that just for a bit. We'll talk about what's happening in Chicago yet again, as even though the mayor tries to talk tough, teen takeovers continue to escalate. And Andy Kim got pepper sprayed because Democrats wanted to make a spectacle in front of the ICE detention facility in Newark, New Jersey. And so it's been some time since we got to talk about these facilities and what's happening out front. I think the last major one was Savannah Hernandez, who was assaulted outside of one, I believe. But it's been some time. And so we will get into that as well in today's video. But first, again, I expect you guys know, but the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day is pretty simple. It's really as obvious as you can make it, which is Memorial Day is about people who were serving in the military, men or women, who died while serving. And usually they probably died overseas during combat. And Veterans Day is just recognizing anyone who has served and got out of the military, because at that point you're officially a veteran. And so the reason why I bring this up is because the city of Minneapolis doesn't know the difference for some reason. And it's a stunning one because it shows you how disconnected you can become if you lean too much into these radical fringe views. So let's just take a look and do a comparison here. And I'll get to Democrats and their, oh my God, what they were saying, which is out of this world. Let me show you guys this briefly here. So this was exactly, if we click on it, I'll give you the time because I think you'll be interested, 9:58 a.m. in the morning, okay? I believe they're Central Standard Time. Correct me if I'm wrong. 9:58 a.m. in the morning, 1 million views right out of the gate. They say, today we remember George Floyd. Okay, 6 years ago, George Floyd's murder forced our city to confront painful truths about race, public safety, and inequality. Every May 25th is a reminder of that grief. There it is, key word. They want people to hold on to the grief. They want people to live in the past. We don't even have to debate whether or not what they're telling, whether or not what they're saying is the truth. It doesn't matter. People believe what they want to believe. But what's fascinating is they're programming their local community to stay stuck in the past. Now, what other culture out there is struggling with that as well? I think you guys know the answer. And a renewed call to action to keep pursuing the progress this tragedy catalyzed. We encourage you to gather, be with community, and honor George Floyd's life. Now, let's do a comparison. It took them 5 hours later to finally post this. 3:01 p.m. So it was 9:58, 3:01 p.m. They got so much backlash that someone must have said, hey, let's go in and get this scheduled. Please post this. Just so we know people can't say we didn't recognize our soldiers. The problem is, look at what they put. Memorial Day. Okay, that makes sense. Minneapolis remembers and honors those who have served our country. Come on, people. Come on, people. Not, hey, Minneapolis remembers and honors those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. You see, that's what happens when you get too tribal. That's what happens. Listen, I have to criticize the people I support for my own sanity. If I refuse to criticize my own party, I will become just like these people. There's a lot of people like that on the internet, on both sides. They will not call out the people they support, and they will easily become vulnerable to this type of behavior. I get we have strong disagreements in our country, different ways of thinking, different policies. That's all true. Even the George Floyd stuff, all true. Even Charlie Kirk. But let's just do the mental calculation. My wife and I were talking about this yesterday as we were doing puzzles. Think of this for a second. They scream every single day about January 6th. So let's call it even. I'll give you January 6th. You give me Black Lives Matter. Okay? Is that fair? I'll give you the 13 service members in Iran. You give me what happened in Afghanistan, which happened to be 13 service members as well, which is interesting. That's a whole nother, I don't know if that is a coincidence or not. But anyways, I will give you that. Now let's throw all of that off the table. Okay? Let's throw all of that off the table, and I'll give you George Floyd. You give me Charlie Kirk. All right, let's throw that off the table. Now let's focus on this post. Disgusting. That's what it is. Disturbing. And obviously, these points that I just made, I really wouldn't probably use that as a foundation of me debating someone, but I'm using their logic. Okay, if we're going to play this game, let's play it. You give me J6, or I'll give you J6, you give me Black Lives Matter. I'll give you George Floyd, you give me Charlie Kirk. Okay? I'll give you Iran, you give me Afghanistan. After that, what else do we have? See, at this point, we have disgusting behavior. That's what's going on. When you can't even tell the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day, you lost the plot. But that's what happens. And these are supposed to be experts running this account, by the way. I wonder how much they're getting paid. That's an interesting question. But this is the United States of America we live in, where we don't even know the meaning of holidays, particularly ones that are about our men and women in our military. It's fascinating stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. But they won't let it go because think of it from a mindset point of view. It's all about being a victim for them. The way you become a victim is by staying in the past. You become stuck in the past. And the crazy part about it is when you become stuck in the past, that means you can't move forward. This is my main contention with my own culture regarding African Americans in our country. So many leaders who happen to be black, so many politicians who happen to be black, so many of these community leaders, even pastors, they want people to stay stuck in the past. Newsflash, it's 2026. It's not 1960. It's not 1964. I can go wherever I want. I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want when I want. And nobody's going to stop me. It's called the freedom. Freedom of being an American citizen. But they don't want people to believe that. That's why they're too busy trying to convince young black athletes at the age of 18 years old to say, hey, skip out on those opportunities, life-changing money, and let's go be a political activist. And let's go protest something you don't understand. That's how dangerous these people are today. And if you're not in charge of your mental faculties, if you're not a person who thinks for yourself, you'll get swept up. No question. Sad. When you can't even tell the difference between, let's circle back here, when you can't even tell the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day as an organization, as a federal organization, or excuse me, not even federal, state organization, state government, you've lost the plot. Plenty of National Guardsmen and military come out of Minneapolis. Some of them absolutely were killed in Iraq. I mean, what does that say to them? It's interesting. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I know he overdosed, guys, in the comment section. I'm just using their logic, okay? I'm using their logic. We'll give them what they want. But even if we do that, in the end, they still lose the plot. That's my point. That even if we gave them these things that they're crying about, they lose the plot in the end. That's why inherently their whole worldview is based on a flawed foundation. And really what it comes down to is ethics, morals, and religion. You know, if you're conservative like me, chances are you're probably a Christian. And our worldview is absolutely different than people on the left. No question. They don't value religion like that. A lot of them probably are not even Christians. Some of them claim to be. And this isn't even a debate about Christianity, by the way. It's a debate about what does a society need to function moving forward? What does a society need to flourish? It needs structure. It needs order. When you allow structure and order to go out the window, what do you get? Chaos. But that's what they want. We don't want to enforce our laws. We don't want any order. No. In fact, the only time we want to enforce laws are against people we disagree with. Now, that sounds like exactly what they're accusing President Trump of being. Isn't that fascinating? It's crazy. Does that hurt your head, DeVory? No. What it does is really, it encourages me and inspires me to continue to tell the truth, because they make the job easy to communicate what is right. That's what's great about this. What I like about this, and I guess, well, let me say this. The silver lining to this is it makes it easy to make the case to people who may not be read in on a lot of this stuff. Maybe they were vulnerable to some of the propaganda. Maybe they know it's wrong, but maybe they haven't heard enough people tell them that, hey, the way you see this is correct. And it's not for me to really tell people what to think. I mean, I try to stay away from that, because ultimately, I think if you're doing that, you are manipulating people. And we're seeing that in the podcast world now with some of the top commentators out there. They have clearly manipulated a lot of people. I mean, I still see videos today going viral. And this is the algorithm at this point, if you think about it. Going viral, showing video clips of Charlie Kirk's security team. And there's really nothing there, but people want it to be true. We live in a time today, pay attention to where I'm going with this. We live in a time today where the truth doesn't even matter. Sometimes there's enough people to say, who gives a shit? I want this to be true because it's entertainment to me. It's suspenseful. It gets my attention. It scratches my anxiety muscle. So I want this to be true. And the crazy thing about that mindset is those people become desensitized to the actual truth, which in most cases is boring. It's the world we live in. And so whether it's, their hero down in Minneapolis, who was clearly a criminal and was using drugs, no doubt about that, or this craziness in Minneapolis as far as pushing back on ICE, all of it is a behavior that has been enforced and encouraged because people or the leaders want their people to live in the past, to be victims. And I just don't believe in that mindset. And I know it sounds like an oversimplification, but when you think like a victim, that's who you become. And so you will get the results that victims get, which are outcomes in life that a person doesn't want. When you think like a hero and you value yourself and you're focused and you're moving towards a worthy goal, you become successful. You live a different quality of life. And the interesting thing is both individuals will encounter dips and tough times, but the person who thinks like a hero will overcome and enjoy their life and grow and develop. The other person won't. See, that's why it's very simple. You're either growing or you're dying, right? Spiritually, mentally, emotionally. There is no in between. And a lot of people out there, they're bankrupt because they're allowing someone else to do their thinking for them. Now, even if I was behind this whole George Floyd stuff, which is a joke. What does it say about my state, about my city, where they refuse to acknowledge men and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice? What does that say? It says they don't give a shit. Someone put, never been here before. Surprised how many followers for one guy. Don't be surprised at hard work, man. Don't be surprised at hard work. Someone put, DeVory, are you okay? You look very tired and need a vacation. Brother, I am grateful. I am amazing, and I'm excited because my wife's going to be giving birth any day now. So we're good over here. We just went on a vacation, a baby moon, to Hawaii, which was phenomenal. Beautiful place. Got to meet someone who actually watches the show called Greg. Amazing guy, amazing family. I mean, what's the chances of running into somebody like that in Hawaii? But Greg was very nice. God bless him and his family. So we are doing good. We are doing great. Okay. So, yeah, someone said, does it? I think I answered that question. Yeah, it doesn't hurt my head. Yeah. And the interesting part about Minneapolis is they get to reap what they sow. They don't want to fund the police? Okay. They want to allow illegal immigration? All right. If they want to celebrate false gods, go right on ahead. But don't complain when the results continue to be disastrous for these people. And here's the thing. Hold on. All right, here we go. Here's the thing about it. As long as they can keep them living in the past, they're not going to look at it the way that we see it, where their economy continues to, I mean, think about it. I mean, that's not a city you move to for business. It's not a city you move to for education. It's not a city you move to for healthcare. It just isn't. And I'm not ragging on people who live in Minneapolis. I'm sure there's history and family and stuff like that. But these people will have to reap what they sow. It's just like people in California, which is why I moved. Now, Los Angeles might have something to say about that finally. Maybe Los Angeles will finally do the right thing and say, you know what? We just can't support incompetence. But I don't think Minneapolis is there. And Jacob Frey, same thing. If we look at his account, is the same situation. Let's go there now. This is fascinating, actually, if you really think about it. Some of these comments that he put up was just really makes you shake your head. Look at this. He wrote a thread, 10 million views, not a post. He wrote a thread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then, if we go to his account and we look at Memorial Day, he literally reposted what the city did. That's it. That's all we get. One post, that's it. 87,000 views. Think about this for a second. It's another problem with social media. A post about our fallen gets 87,000 views from the mayor, Jacob Frey, but a post about George Floyd gets 10 million. It's interesting. Can't remember who I was talking to, but I was telling someone what I don't like about social media is if you're boring, calm, clear, concise, you're not really going to get a lot of people's attention. But if you are emotional, you exaggerate, you use a little bit of interesting language, you're going to get some people's attention. If you write your captions in all caps, you'll get people's attention. And listen, it is what it is. It's the way we've been programmed because of social media. The more clickbait people become, the more they click on it, the more they watch, the more that becomes a currency. But this right here is what, if you guys want to know what actually hurts my head, what hurts my head on social media is when posts about Mr. Floyd, upstanding citizen, is getting 10 million views, but post about service members who paid the ultimate sacrifice gets nothing. Just can't make it up. How do you make sense of that? How do you make sense of that? How are we supposed to make sense of that? That's the part I don't know, guys. I don't know. I don't know whatsoever. Someone said fake 10 million. It's possible. Definitely. All right, let's get into what happened in Newark, New Jersey. I think you guys are going to find this interesting, and then we'll get into Chicago. Take a look at this.
Lock arms. Lock arms. Somebody needs to record. We need to record in case there's violence. We're not moving. Yep. Wait. We'll let them out as long as we can make them want to see. Absolutely. Please, let's see. It's good. It's good. It's good. Okay. Right. Make sure to let him go. Come on, okay. Oh, let me kill them. They're good. They're good. Empty. Okay. You guys are healed. You're amazing. You're amazing. Thank you. Thank you. It's good. Get out. We're good. Good. Okay, let him in. They always hide in their face. You ashamed, but people can find out your information by your license plate. Ambulance.
So what we're witnessing at this point is a different strategy at this Newark, New Jersey ICE detention facility. So instead of setting up some federal roadblock or security checkpoint outside the actual gate itself, they're allowing these anti-ICE agitators to essentially do the security for them. So these protesters get to flash their light inside the vehicle and look to see who's in there. They get to open and close their own barrier that they put up themselves. I know it's ludicrous, but this is where we're at. For some reason, this is the strategy that ICE facility is using. Now, maybe it's because they do not want to draw any more attention to themselves. Maybe. But I think a lot of people are not going to like this. And when I say a lot of people, people who want mass deportations, law and order. Let's go to this summary from Fox News about what else happened.
But first, we want to get to Alexis McAdams. She's live right now outside Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey, where those protesters there, Alexis, have been facing off with some of the ICE agents. What's happening?
That's right. Well, it has been going on for a few days, and then it happened again this morning, and it's happening again throughout the afternoon. So we're just going to move in on a little bit and show you what's going on out here. You can see that they've got the protesters that are sitting here, and I thought it was important to point out a lot of them actually had their faces kind of covered, but the big deal here, right, in New Jersey is that these people don't think ICE agents should be able to cover their faces. So that's one thing. But they're facing off with these ICE officers who are trying to do their job, Sandra, because they believe that this detention facility here, Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey, should be shut down. They say it's because the migrants inside of the facility are not being treated right. So that's why they're out here. That's why they're positioned here with their goggles on, ready to be tear gassed or pepper sprayed, they say, if possible. So pointing it out, obviously we covered what happened on the ground in Minneapolis. We covered that in Minnesota. We covered a little bit of what happened in Broadview, Illinois, outside of Chicago. That's a more similar setup to what happened here. So
yeah, see, this is the point we made last time. when what was happening at ICE facilities was really dominating the news cycle, is that nothing happens without logistics, okay? Somebody's funding this, somebody's supplying them, somebody's organizing them, somebody's leading them. The question is, does the FBI know exactly who those people are and what are they doing to bring them to account? Now, some may say, well, DeVory, what's happening here is not illegal. And you might be right. You might be right that it's not technically illegal. But what I don't like seeing is ICE bend the knee to these agitators. Now we go to Senator Andy Kim, who happened to get himself pepper sprayed because, again, these lawmakers think they can show up and act as if they are an agitator, that they can put their hands on ICE agents and really disrupt what's going on. And I just think it sets a terrible example. Take a look at this.
Respectfully, still, you got the pictures over there. This is his.
Yeah, what I find to be interesting is that people are shocked when federal authorities have to use pepper spray. They're going to execute whatever the SOP is on the ground. If you start to not only impede their operations, you're trying to break in, you're trying to push, they're just going to execute that. I don't understand why people are so shocked by that. What do you want them to do? Lay down on the ground and let you guys go in there and ransack the place? It doesn't work that way. And by the way, you think people like this could show up to the FBI headquarters and demand to get in? Absolutely not. It's a federal building. There should be order. Now, let's go to Morning Joe, because, of course, that's not the way that they see it. Take a listen.
It remains extraordinary that governors of states, that United States senators, that members of Congress who actually fund these what many people inside are calling concentration camps. I think that really internment camps certainly do fit. That they can't get in. You're a governor of a state where they have placed one of these internment camps, and the Trump administration does not allow you to go inside there. You're a United States senator or a United States congressman, congresswoman, and you actually fund. Yeah. You fund these internment sites, and they're black holes. They're black holes, and you have people inside there that are being held that shouldn't be held there. We know that. And we know that they'll stay as long as they can stay because the people inside there get paid by the day. In many cases, from the reporting that we've gotten. So the longer they hold people, even if those people are held illegally, well, the more money they make. So again, something has to be done here. Every member of Congress should go to every internment camp in their districts and should demand that they be allowed to be in, or they fund nothing.
See, the problem is when they're operating from the position that everyone inside the ICE detention facility is there illegally, they lose the plot completely. Now, even if I went with their logic, let's say 1% of the people in that ICE detention facility shouldn't be in there. A mistake. Maybe it was too aggressive, whatever the approach might have been. That's only 1%. The other 99%, they belong in there, so they could be deported out of this country. See, the problem with Democrats is they don't want deportations. They don't. And they'll only say that they support it when it's on their terms. But even then, they don't want to follow through on that. Okay, let's go to our next story, and this involves more teen takeovers over the weekend from Chicago, where things continue to get out of hand. Take a listen.
A teenager from Plainfield has been charged with attempted murder of 5 Chicago police officers. 18-year-old Rashad Johnson is accused of striking them with a vehicle. Johnson was arrested early Sunday morning during a teen takeover on the south side. It started at 13th and Troop, eventually shut down Roosevelt Road between Troop and Loomis. Witnesses say the crowd was large and chaotic in Little Italy well past 3 a.m.
The accountability mechanism.
Today, Mayor Brandon Johnson reacting to a violent weekend so far.
These unauthorized gatherings, as we have indicated multiple times, that they can be dangerous. And in this case, we saw the manifestation of that danger.
Okay, there's so much to say about the Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. But before I get to that, guys, the more he continues to come out in front of the camera and talk tough, the more things get out of control. And the problem is he has not set the foundation, nor has he really enforced the law in a way to prevent these things from happening to begin with. That's number one. Number two, what programs has he actually created to be an outlet for younger teenagers in these communities? None. Okay. He spends too much money on illegal immigration and defrauding the people of Chicago. I know that's hyperbole, but think about it. Where has the money gone? And so, again, what happens as a result of his failed leadership is things continue to escalate. Here's just another example where people were killed at another teen takeover. Take a look.
We do have an update to breaking news on the city's south side. 3 men were shot overnight. Police say they were standing outside near a large gathering on 55th Street. They were taken to a local hospital and are expected to be okay. Chicago police just released these images here of a person that they're looking for. The images are blurry, but police think this is the person who opened fire on those 3 people. The gunfire happened blocks away from a teen takeover last night at 57th Street Beach. Massive crowds prompted a large police response in Hyde Park and the partial shutdown of DuSable Lakeshore Drive. People were seen trying to climb over a wall, trying to cross the street as police warned them to get back. Several police cars lined the lakefront as police tried to reroute traffic with hundreds of people.
Yeah. So again, the Chicago mayor is another case study, just like Karen Bass, just like Jacob Frey. This is what you get with people who lean this far left. And the American people, they're not looking for fringe leadership. They're just looking for people who can get things done. That's why Spencer Pratt, he's gaining a lot of attention and support in Los Angeles. Hopefully he wins, but only time will tell. So getting back to Brandon Johnson, you know, I say this often. We thought Lori Lightfoot was really bad. I think Brandon Johnson blows her out of the water. He's terrible. He's terrible. And the other point I like to make a lot is there's so many people who claim to be pro-black, right? All these black leaders and these community leaders. And, well, it's black people who run the city of Chicago. So if black people run the city of Chicago, then what? I mean, who are we to actually blame here? Right? I mean, that's a good question. Who can they really blame? Well, you know, they'll keep saying what they've been saying, which is, you know, it's the white people, it's the system. They don't want to take any accountability for their own behavior. Now, what should happen? I guess if DeVory was in charge or advising, the city of Chicago, one, you have to enforce the law. That's part number one. Part number two is zero tolerance. If people are going to go into downtown and disrupt businesses and the peace, they will be arrested on site. Bottom line, I would lower the actual age. If you're 16 years old and you get caught outside, we will try you as an adult. 3, I would prosecute the parents as well. Yeah. Now, that's as good as you're going to get from the elected representatives. That is only a Band-Aid. And we talked about it. The root cause is the failure of the family. That's really what it is, a breakdown of the nuclear family. Most of these kids out there probably don't have a father, or if they do have a father, they may not have a mother. They're single parents. It's not a good structure at home is the bottom line. Now, who's at fault for that? Is it Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, or is it the parents and the grandparents and the great-grandparents? I mean, yeah, it's the family overall. And see, this is the problem with family is, unfortunately, it's a tough one. Sometimes we have these expectations of our family members to be something they're either not or they're not ready to be. What do I mean by that exactly? Well, you know, some kids out there, they don't have a family or a strong family unit because the family itself is messed up. Now, I'll give you a great example of this. The reason why I ended up having to get adopted is because the family was screwed already. Okay. Now, my grandmother, she was married and she did have kids. Quite a few, actually. The problem is, one of her daughters died very early. Another daughter, which happens to be my biological mom, was on drugs. One of her sons was into molesting kids. And they didn't have fathers. You see, this is why I look at the world the way that I do, because when I look at my family history, I see a lack of men, no fathers, none. So my grandfather, never met him, don't know what happened. I mean, he's dead now, obviously, but I never got to have a conversation with him. Never. And she remarried, and I met him, but I didn't actually meet my original grandfather. Well, I never met my father either. And so that's 2 out of the gate. 2 strikes. Lack of fathers. Okay? Now, when I also talk about this, where unfortunately, it's part of God's plan. When I was a kid, my cousin, sexually abused me. Why would he do that? Well, his father was a scumbag too. His father used to beat up his wife and do things he was not supposed to do, if you catch on to what I'm saying. So my cousin, when he becomes a little older, he's fucked. He's screwed. So he does the same thing. A lack of fathers. That's really what it is. So when I think to myself, what can I do to break the cycle of what I was exposed to? I got to be the opposite of what came before me. That is a conscious choice to make as an adult. Now, by all accounts, I should be a failure. I should be a terrible father, etc., based on the history. But that's not going to happen because I took it upon myself to change my belief systems, to get my mindset right, to get my faith right. And I'm a totally different person I'm totally different than my family. Why am I telling you guys all this? Because all those kids we see on these cameras, in these video clips, that's what they're going through. I can guarantee you some of them sexually abused, some of them were beat up, some of them, no one cares about them. No one's looking for them at 11 p.m. at night. So where do they go? They go to the streets where they're welcome. When kids are going out at 3:30 a.m. in the morning, that means they're going where they are welcomed. And they're leaving where they are not welcomed. That's why I said it's a failure of the parents. And that's why I'm not going to blame every little thing on Brandon Johnson, because he can only do so much. This starts in the home. So my hope is for these kids we continue to see in these video clips, that someone out of them, if it's 100 of them, maybe 10 will realize what's going on and go in the opposite direction. Classical lesson here is, if the masses are turning left, you better turn right. Okay? That's just a secret of success in life. Don't do what everybody else is doing. And that's why we need more people to get them to understand is, hey, you don't have to live your life this way. Yes, you may have started your life off in a terrible way. You may have terrible parents. You may have a family who doesn't give a shit about you. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Because all of that is to help strengthen you to become the person you're meant to be on this planet. We need strong people in our society. Well, strong people are not developed because of convenience. They're usually forged through pain. Right? So this is what these kids need to hear. Now, they need to be held accountable, but the accountability should come with this affirmation that they can be better. And I don't believe the Chicago mayor is doing that. I don't know what these leaders are doing in that city, but whatever they're doing clearly isn't working. because it hasn't gotten better. It's only gotten worse. It's only gotten worse. So before we get to your comments, let me play this message from our sponsor today, Tax Network USA. Okay, let's just pause for this quick, important update. Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? Did you retire and suddenly get hit with a huge tax bill you didn't expect? Or are you a business owner with messy books and a balance that is owed to the IRS that you can't afford? This is why you have to talk to my friends at Tax Network USA. They know exactly how to handle your particular situation. They've been doing it for 15 years because you know the IRS is not going to go away. And if you don't deal with it, it will get worse. So stop what you're doing. Call Tax Network USA today. They will have a free game plan call with you. Well, they'll look at your particular situation, see what the IRS is asking of you, and then give you the proper course of action. So take advantage of the free investigation call with them today by giving them a call. That number is 1-866-686-0279. That is 1-866-686-0279, or go to tnusa.com/DeVory. All right, let's get to your guys' comments. So what's the lessons here for us? The lesson here is we have to stand firm in marriage. We got to stand firm in encouraging young men to actually become men, especially if they had no father. We've got to reach out and help these people, especially when we know we're in a position to help. That's the interesting part about this. Now, we're not going to save everybody, and I don't actually believe in saving people. I just believe in serving people. And this, if it's Houston, Chicago, Memphis, Baltimore, New York, there's no shortage of this happening. Broken homes equal broken children. Now, I'm optimistic, so I don't believe people spiritually are broken. I think people are spiritually perfect. And I think what we should be doing every single day is trying to move ourselves back to that. Now, we live in this flesh that is clearly flawed. We have an intellect that, we have some bad coding in there, right? Because of bad experiences, bad parenting, whatever. But if we're doing the daily work, we can get back to being the best part of ourselves. But that's a daily, lifetime commitment. Lifetime. See, some people, they only want to do the work when they're in trouble, right? They only want to change just to get this little thing. And then they go back to doing what they were doing previously. Yeah, we're talking about a paradigm shift here that needs to happen within these communities. And it all starts at the individual level, understanding that we can change and do better. And we cannot depend on elected representatives like the Chicago mayor or the president of the United States or Congress. These people will fail us for the rest of our lives. You'll be waiting a long time if you're hoping that they will change what's happening inside your own community. It's not. It's the community's fault. Now, what's interesting is it's possible. How do we know it's possible? Look at Minneapolis, where we started today. It seems like the people of the community are in charge, not the mayor. They're in charge. They're the ones who set up roadblocks. They're the ones who managed traffic. They're the ones who knew what was happening, where it was happening, and who was involved, not the mayor. See, when the people of the community really want to unify against something or around something, they'll do it. So it can happen. It absolutely can. If we're seeing it happen with the wrong things, that means it can happen with the right things. But it's a shift in our perspective. And yet most black people, which is true, still vote for the Democrat Party. And that's it. That's the problem. I would respect the black community from withdrawing from politics than continuing to vote for Democrats. Because the Democrat Party doesn't care about the working class. We know that already. We know that. And so this is why I said there's so many things that we can do, but it would take the community looking themselves in the mirror. And that's why I told you guys my family history. Someone can change. The entire lineage doesn't have to be fucked up. It just takes one person to say, hey, you know what? I'm not doing that. We're not doing that. I'm not doing drugs like my mom. I'm not hanging around people on the streets like my dad. I'm not getting into these ideas from the devil. No, we're going to live life differently. And that's why I say it's possible. It's definitely possible. But, you know, some of you guys asked me in the beginning of this live show, you know, does this hurt your brain? I mean, it's not that it doesn't hurt my brain. I mean, it hurts my heart sometimes because I know depending on politicians isn't going to help us. They will only fail us in the end. And imagine how better our country could be if the culture, particularly the community of black people, not all of them, but the black people who do buy into the Democrat message, imagine if they just moved on. How do you move on? Let's talk about that as we wrap up here, because I had to learn this as well. Well, you have to forgive. How do you forgive? Well, you forgive through understanding. Understanding what, DeVory? Understanding that first you need to forgive yourself because somewhere along the line, I'm sure you blamed you for whatever happened. Then you need to forgive the people that you've been harnessing this anger towards. See, that's the call for these black leaders who say they want the best for black people. Where is your forgiveness? You going to hold a grudge for the next 100 years for what happened before 1960? And most people didn't even live in that era. You got people walking around today acting as if they grew up in the 60s. They have no idea. They have nothing to compare the way they think. So as a result, they become vulnerable to the propaganda. Now, I have a lot to compare my life to, which is why I don't buy into that stuff. It wasn't racism that made my father a drug addict and a person who had 12 kids from different baby mamas. It wasn't the white man that forced my mom to have 5 different baby daddies. No. They did that. So I could compare when someone's telling me, hey, DeVory, you know, hey, you're black, man, you're oppressed. Well, compared to what? You see, I have something to compare it to. There's a lot of people who they don't have that, or they don't see that yet. But they want people to stay stuck in the past, and that's the thing. So anyways, you got to forgive the people that you're harnessing anger towards. Only then you can finally let it go. How are you going to let something go if you're stuck in the past? It doesn't work. And get this, how are you supposed to become the person God wants you to become if you're stuck in the past? How can black people as a community become who they say they want to be as a community if they're stuck in 1960 mentally? How does that work? It violates all logic. So when the NAACP comes out advocating for these black athletes to skip out on opportunities, they're telling them to live in a past they never experienced. How are they supposed to move forward? How are they supposed to receive the blessings God has laid out for us? They can't. Because they're stuck in the past. They're looking in the rearview mirror. What's crazy is I can give you analogy after analogy after analogy. I can go through every aspect of our lives. The principle will be the same. When we become stuck in the past, we can't move forward. So the question is, hey, Al Sharpton. Hey, NAACP. Hey, Hakeem Jeffries. How long do you want to stay stuck in the past? When do you want to move forward? Or do you just want to get revenge against people who had nothing to do with the pain that you didn't even experience? It's crazy. It's crazy. So I had to forgive my father because he wasn't there. First, I forgave myself for being so angry because I'd made some bad choices because I was angry. So I had to forgive myself for being that stupid. Then I had to say, hey, you know what? I don't have to carry this. If anybody should be upset, it should be my father who's upset. Why should I be upset? Explain that. But see, they want people walking around carrying the burden that they come up with. Okay, and it's the same burden every 4 years. Hey, black people, racism. I don't want to carry that. Why do I want to carry that? How is that going to help me advance in my life? How does that advance our communities? It doesn't. Now, I would love to get to a point in our country where it doesn't really matter your skin color, that the labels get thrown out the window, and the only label that matters is that me and you are Americans. I would love that. But I don't believe they want that. Because you have people who take pride in the struggle. They celebrate it. They wear it like it's a badge of honor. You know, it's like, hey, I got exposed to racism. Celebrate me for that. Why would I celebrate that? It's low intelligence. That's what that is. Let's see here. Let's read some of your comments. Someone said, clip this. Yeah, I'll make sure my team does. Hold on. Give me a second, guys. Oh, okay. Sorry, I heard a big bang outside. Okay. Yeah. If you're living in the United States of America, you have it really good. We're absolutely privileged in comparison to the rest of the world, no doubt. But see, I want to go back to where we started with Minneapolis. Because it's the same thing. When you get too involved in these radical fringe ideas, you lose sight of reality. Now, it's not just Minneapolis forgetting that it was Memorial Day and what it actually means, this, you know, the sacrifice that our service members had paid. But it's in other areas too. Like what exactly? Well, what women are doing today. That's why marriage has fallen off a cliff. The fringe idea is you can have kids and not be married, and that's totally fine. That's craziness. That's insanity. Another one is, well, science may say that you are female, but that doesn't mean that's your identity. It's a fringe idea. And these ideas have become so bad that people, they don't even recognize what the truth really is anymore, let alone understand it. This is why I'm a firm believer, guys, and sometimes it just be best for people to just stop fighting reality, okay? And go along with what has worked for thousands of years. But there's a habit on the left to want to change things for no reason, to come up with problems that don't exist. Because what? They need entertainment? You know why it is? Because they don't serve anyone. And what do I mean by that? They have no relationship with Christ. So they have nothing, they have no structure to adhere to. And if you don't have any structure to adhere to, what are you going to do? You're going to follow chaos. And chaos would be transgenderism. Chaos would be feminism. Right? Chaos would be teen takeovers. Chaos would be illegal immigration. It's because we have people who are in these leadership positions not adhering to any structure. And when there is no structure and there is no order, there can only be chaos. This is why I'm a firm believer that conservative values, we have to protect them in the United States of America. They must be enforced. Because if we don't have any conservative values, kiss this country goodbye. And it sounds a little doomy, I admit. But all parents know this. Any coach at your local high school knows this. Any teacher, any manager, boss knows this. You don't have order and you don't have structure, you have chaos. And what's interesting is we have a political party who believes they can defy these laws in this universe. It's crazy. You cannot defy these laws. You can try to. You can think you know better. But see, that's the arrogance of people who are far left, is they think they know more or better than the person who created us. Isn't that interesting? They think they know more. They think they know better. And they think they can control outcomes. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. All right, guys. Well, those are the two updates. I wanted to get to Spencer Pratt because there's new attacks against him, and it just continues to show why he's on the right track. Election today in Texas, John Cornyn versus Ken Paxton. I think it's no question that Paxton is going to run away with it, which sets up a huge fight between him and Tallarico, which that will be interesting as the days go on, or the months go on, that is. And yeah, let's continue to pray for our country, because when I continue to see these teen takeovers and I continue to see what the city of Minneapolis did, it just goes to show that people are not being led in the right way. And just really quick as we wrap up here, I'm obviously biased because I served in the military. So of course I'm going to have a reaction to them not understanding the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. I get it. I get that. But where is the due diligence? Where is the attention to detail? Where is the follow-up to say, hey guys, we do honor the people who have sacrificed? Even in the comment section, they could have put that, but they didn't. That's why I said, I think a lot of people should be in the military, should join the military to learn some of these concepts because they're so key. Attention to detail. Whoever wrote that should be fired. I believe so. Because I find it distasteful, no doubt. But what do you expect from people like that anyway. Right? All right. All 37 of Trump's endorsements have won their primaries. Exactly. DeVory, I think you have one of the best shows on Rumble. Thank you guys for watching. Very grateful. 100% on point today. Thank you. Not all women. I know that. That's why I said women who buy into feminism. Yep, truth is not an option. I love that. I identify as a millionaire, so where is my money? That's really good. Well, here's the thing. What we're seeing with transgenderism is the power of the mind, but directed towards a destructive idea. That's why you can't convince them. Because it's an idea in their subconscious mind. It's part of their belief system. From a young age, they're told, you're not a boy or you're not a girl. Now, the ones who end up changing, in some cases, like Chloe Cole, I believe her name is, had an emotional impact. They cut off their body parts and boom, it hit them like, oh, wait a minute. And it was such a shock that they woke up and were like, we're going in the wrong direction here. You see, they're using the power of the mind in the wrong way. Instead of planting the idea in their mind that, hey, you're not a boy, you're not a girl, it should be, hey, you can accomplish anything you want in life. You should plant in their mind that, hey, you can go out there and be somebody positive for your community. They're getting the wrong ideas. So again, that's why you have something called detransitioning, because they're now getting the ideas they should have gotten and they accept them and their perception and their belief changes. So as I had said previously on another show, we're all obsessed with something. The question is, what ideas are we obsessed with? Are these ideas that will help us grow, advance, and become what we are supposed to be? Or are these ideas that will leave us bankrupt emotionally, mentally, physically, etc.? Yeah, that's what it comes down to. You see, inherently, and I'll leave you guys with this one. It's a great teacher, great mentor. If you're in the United States of America, technically you were born rich. Compared to other countries, and by the way, rich is not about cash. Rich is a state of mind. I'm rich in my relationship with Christ. I'm rich in my relationship with myself, my wife, my son. I'm rich in my commitment to be better every day. You see how if we use the ideas constructively, how far we can get? That's why I tell people the money's going nowhere. If you're inherently have a healthy relationship with yourself, you have a healthy relationship with money and people, you're going to go places. Now, that's not going to happen overnight. You got to do some work, obviously. But it's a state of mind, not a state of account, as they say. All right, guys, I got to go. Very grateful. Thank you for checking out the show today. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Take care, guys. And thank you for checking it.